for staying with us on Sunrise. Now, imagine this, okay? You're on vacation in beautiful Port Antonio. You meet someone special, and then you're whisked away to Paris for a whirlwind wedding. That's exactly what's happened to Pierre and Khadine Lemaire, two people blending cultures for over 47 years, proving that there's no cultural boundaries when it comes to love. Welcome to Sunrise.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So nice to have you both here. And you know, one of my favorite topics in life is love and relationships.
Me too.
I'm always curious about how people do it and how they stay married so long and how they actually have healthy functioning relationships. But take us back to the beginning. And I kind of want to know a little bit about your first encounter and what that was really like.
The first encounter was in Goblin Hill in Port Antonio. I was doing a show there. It was their French month, and for the French month they asked me to do a show. I was working with, related to the French embassy at the time, but being trained in theater, they said, Pierre, would you do a French show? Khadine was a student at the Alliance, and she came as a member of the Alliance and stayed there the weekend, see the show, and we met. and since Port Antonio is our favorite spot because we keep going back there. We did work there after we got married. When we came back to Jamaica in '78, we worked in Port Antonio at Goblin Hill. We run the hotel for about 6 months, in fact.
Oh, nice.
So we were back where we had met.
So,
I love that.
So, you know, so you met in 1977.
Yes, 77.
And got married in 78.
January
Yes.
78.
What was the process of getting married like back then in terms of, because it's an intercultural, how did it work?
It was very difficult.
Yeah?
Because in France at the time, to get married, you need your original birth certificate.
It's still the case.
It's still the case.
Still the
And in
case.
Jamaica, in those days, we didn't have an original birth certificate. It was certified.
Yeah.
Certified copy. And the French government said no. So we had to go, a friend who got married to a Jamaican said, you have to go Supreme Court. So we went Supreme Court. And of course, we had delays all the time. So instead of getting married in September, we got married in January, but we ran out of visa for Khadine. So the visa was 3 months, and you could have it 3 times. The third time, we knew we couldn't get an extension. So we still gone. And the lady said, oh, my friend is on holiday. What does she do normally? She gives us just stand there. And we walk carefully out because... And so it took a long time, but finally we got it.
Yeah, we actually ended up having a waiver, and we even had the time reduced because they had to publish the bans and all of that. So because we were living in the same district in Paris, we had a quick waiver. So we, instead of waiting, I don't know how many weeks, we had like 10 days. And so we just got married, and it fell, the 10 days fell on the 7th of January, and we got married.
Tami, you know him want to marry you when he got to the Supreme Court.
Listen.
When him got to the Supreme Court, you know, Tami.
Nobody ever got Supreme Court for me.
Ladies, if he wanted to, he would, okay?
I have to ask though, you know, we spoke earlier about, you know, an intercultural union, you know, being from 2 different places. How do you find, you know, mixing those cultures and, you know, seeing eye to eye? I imagine that, you know, on a very basic level, like, you know, we may believe different things, we come from different backgrounds. How do we make that work together?
That's weird because when you are with somebody, you just share things. And I'm sure you share with your husband, say, oh, you should try this, I eat that normally, and you share it and you realize that it worked and it become normal. And that's how it worked. And what is interesting is Khadine, well, she has a French passport, Jamaican passport. I have a Jamaican passport, a French passport. I was the one working for all these years for Ndamanle College, which is government. She was working for the French embassy.
That's crazy.
So we just swap our culture to the point that when I have an official letter to do for France, I ask Carline because she's more accustomed to that. I cannot use a French computer because the keyboard is different. She cannot use a Jamaican computer because the keyboard is different. So the culture are totally mixed. And our children are bilingual, bicultural. One son is a businessman, one is a Rastaman. So, you know, it couldn't be more mixed.
How often do you go back to France, or?
We try to go every 3 years when my parents were alive. I made a point to go every year. But now that they have passed 2 years, 3 years, just to stay about a week, that's enough. After a week, I want to come back home.
But you know, this is such a lovely story of discovery, and you know, discovering each other, discovering each other's cultures, each other's countries, each other's lives. What's your secret to be? You just told me you were married 46 years, and I said that is 2 life sentences. And so I want to know, what's the secret? Not to just a long marriage, but a happy one.
Well, of course, there's love. A lot of respect. Plenty laughter. Sense of humor. You know, Pierre's a clown. So, in fact, I first noticed Pierre at Goblin Hill because of something funny that he did. He made me laugh. And I, all of a sudden, I was just noticing this person, you know, who was there. And it didn't stop. And apparently he had noticed me too. Yeah, and I was seeing him all the time after that. So, and he has kept me laughing all the time.
Oh, I love that. Laughter is a big, big one. Yeah.
I have a question. Is there anything that you see young people, whether young couples or just young people wanting marriage or whatever, doing that you would say, I would tweak this if you really want a long, nice, happy marriage?
The thing is, I think the secret of it is not to want marriage. It's just to feel great with somebody and say, yeah, I feel great with that person. I want to feel great with that person for the rest of my life. But don't go in the trap like, oh, I'm getting 25, I need to get married. Or, I have to find, this one would be right for me. No, and not so it go. It has to be, you know, one day you say, that person is the one I want to spend the time. But you see, in a marriage to work as well, your spouse has to be your best friend. It has to be your lover. It has to be all of that. It's a mix of all of that. So you don't have to be okay, but you look for something else somewhere else. You know, it's that relationship has to be well established. You know it's going to work. And then that's logical.
Yeah, I love that. You know, like you said, you spent time in both places. You guys live here now, though, right?
Yeah,
like this
we
is
live
Jamaica
here.
is your home.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's an interesting thing for me always when one person decides to leave where they are to come to Jamaica. Jamaica is loaded with magic, right? Like when you came here, you're like, me nah go back.
This is quite happy.
What was it like for you being an interracial couple in Jamaica versus in France at the time? Was it easier to be here versus there?
I think, I think it probably was easier to be here. By the time we met, Pierre was already speaking English. When we went to France, I was learning French, and so I had to not only learn how to speak the language, but at the same time I was getting acclimatized to the culture and everything. And I mean, it's a big city, it's a big country. You know, it's not like Jamaica where everybody is right there and you're close and you always know somebody and bumping into somebody. It was different. And
it was 47 years ago. Different time.
And also, we saw very few mixed couples at that time. When we went back on holidays 10 years later, we said, wow, enough mixed couples. We feel at home. You know, that was interesting.
I love that. Well, you've definitely inspired us here today with your story. I think it's really important to share stories of how people, you know, do life together, how they do marriage together, how they do love together. So we appreciate you taking the time to share with us today, and we'll definitely take it on board.
And to 47 more years.
Yeah, cheers to you both, and cheers to the
47
laughter.
more.
One thing you forget to mention is the patience. You have to have a lot of patience.
Definitely. Oh, yes, without a doubt.
He's like, what patience? What are you talking about? I'm lovely, but thanks so much. Thanks so much for being here.
Pleasure.
That was Pierre and Caroline Lemaire. Coming up next, calling all football fans, we have the details on a football tournament that you won't want to miss. Stay tuned for the kickoff. Stay with us.
Don't